Hello, and welcome for this tutorial on Adobe Experience Platform API Wrapper, aepp. In this series of video, I will explain how Adobe Experience Platform works and how to use the aepp Python wrapper to use the Adobe Experience Platform APIs in a simple way and to extract the most of your implementation. Also simplifies and standardize some methods and make it more scalable. As a disclaimer, this is done as a personal project, and even though the aepp module is an official Adobe GitHub project and it's open source, these are only my views. They may be oversimplification or just omitting some elements or just being inaccurate in some fact because I'm not an aepp Adobe Experience Platform engineer. So that being said, we can start with the explanation on what is aepp. Aepp is the first element of the program will be to do to explain aepp, the first element of the program is to see the architecture, and then we will cover some of the advanced classes that have been developed over the years. So the first element is to check on the uh, elements. So the architecture is not available, but you can actually look how the uh, module has been implemented directly into the GitHub by this email address. And you can go there directly by doing this element here. There you can see in the uh, GitHub repo the different documentation that are available. I would recommend to start with a get started. We will cover this directly in a video later. And then all of the different modules that are available are explained directly in these elements. So you can see all of them. There are some special classes that we will also cover during each of the module descriptions. I will start with the schema and go down as we're explaining how Adobe Experience Platform works. There are also available notebooks to get you started uh, from the project. It starts with aepp implementation, and the schema, then the catalog and the customer profile. This project is open source and is obviously always waiting for new contributors. I am today the main contributor for this element. The architecture it says as what is aepp? It's a platform. It's a wrapper on Python, and it's based on Adobe Experience Platform APIs, and it aims at standardization for the methods, abstraction of authentication, easy use to access of the aepp data artifact, and also additional capabilities that we're going to quickly get introduced to as the managers. Also leaving created methods that are uh, available for you and should actually simplify your workflow with aepp. So Adobe Experience Platform mostly use the host server to server setup and the connection via APIs. We'll cover that in one of the next videos on how to set that up in the Adobe Experience Platform context. As I was explaining, it's a Python module that contains submodule. Each submodule represents a service in Adobe Experience Platform. As Adobe Experience Platform covers a wide range of capabilities, there is no Adobe Experience Platform single capability per se. Everything is a different department, different services, and they have different API endpoints with different services and with different header and pagination and so forth. So in this sense, Adobe Experience Platform is I'm trying to actually do a standardization of Adobe Experience Platform API output. And this is what aepp try to do. Simplify you to don't have to take care of the token, don't have to take care of the pagination, don't have to take care of the output format. A structure of the aepp for more details development is done as such. that there is the folder aepp, and then inside you can see some files such as init and version file, and then schema and query service. Inside those files, you will can access some classes. In the case of schema, you have schema. In the case of query service, you have query service or interactive query in the query service module. Most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, a module contains the class that have the same name, but just with a capital letter as the start because it's a class. Everything is documented and you can access to that. Some of the time, as you can see with query service, you have more than one class available when there is more than one module available. Once you have instantiated the class, you can get all of the method, such as in the case of schema, the get schema, a create schema, delete some business logic class, copy mixin, or create experience even schema, so which is an abstraction version of create schema based on already a specific class. You have, of course, seen more than that, and we'll see them in a future video. To go into more details, everything is using the connector module. The connector module and class is actually handling the different element needed for your request. It generates a token, it maintains the active token, it's passing the request from get, post, delete, put, patch, and head, and then handling the response from or to a dictionary, and could be as a data frame, even though that could be implemented in the method itself. We'll see how we can access that during our videos. We can access directly this connector, or we can access an abstract version of it directly in each of the class of the module. Over the years, as the development of Adobe Experience Platform extended, we've seen the need for containerization of implementation. In the case of large organization with multi-region entities, such as in Europe, or even globally as Asia, Europe, US, for example, or in case of multiple brands, in case you have several brands in a single entities of Adobe Experience Platform, you may need to create containerization. Those containerization are called sandboxes in Adobe Experience Platform. Those sandboxes live independently to each other and are not sharing any data. So that allows to keep your data separated for your different organization if you need that, and have an overarching organization managing them. As this element was not developed at the beginning, Adobe Experience Platform Wrapper, the app, had to introduce something to handle those different sandboxes. You may have also different sandboxes for release process, such one development sandbox and one production sandbox, or one development, one QA, and one production sandbox, and then you need to handle the different artifacts between sandboxes and so on and so forth. In order to do that, there is something called connect instance classes that have been developed. And we will see that in the different videos, but this is important to understand that you will be able to import a configuration and maintain that connection configuration into a single variable. You can then pass as variable, which is in that case sandbox 1. You can have another one which is sandbox 2 and another sandbox 3, and pass it to the same class to create a connection. In our example, dev, QA, and production into the schema instance 1 being the dev, can access it to the dev environment, dev sandbox, schema instance 2 being attached to the QA environment, and the schema instance 3 being able to access the production environment. And you can then manipulate all of those things in a more easy fashion in a single context window. The workflow to use aepp are easy, or is easy. You load first the module, then you can load the submodule or load the credential, recommended approach is to generate a connect instance capability to save your configuration in a variable. Then you can instantiate a class passing the variable you have loaded here. And then that create a connector instance that generate all the token and all of the required permissions. And then you can start working with a different method. So it's a very easy workflow that is repeatable and scale efficiently. As a quick view, I wanted to show you or tease you about the different advanced class that have been created on top of the Adobe Experience Platform API wrapper classes that have been available. As Adobe Experience Platform grows in your organization, you may need to have better understanding of the IP artifact. You need to have an easier capability to manipulate those artifacts and manage them. Also understand dependencies and be able to review those dependencies independently. And doing that through the UI is actually very hard and not very efficient. So the main focus on those managers are actually on schema manipulation, because how we will see in the future videos on Adobe Experience Platform setup, we will see that the schema is at the base of everything. There are 4 modules for the manager that can help you are the class manager, schema manager, field group manager, and data type manager. We will do a video on each one of them to explain you how they work and what you can do with them. And on top of that, there is also the flow manager, which is a work in progress and should allow you to work with the flow service API in a more efficient way. So I hope that give you a good introduction into Adobe Experience Platform API wrapper, APP. And in the next video, we will do an explanation of what is Adobe Experience Platform and then how to connect to the API with this. Thank you for your time and talk to you soon.